Hello, welcome everybody to the 6570 Family Project podcast. I am so excited to have you here and really excited about this topic today, mostly because I have been coaching about it and I have been living and experiencing it myself. So let me ask you this, as a parent, and especially as you get those kiddos that are starting to have, the older play dates, maybe they're later elementary school, middle school, maybe they're starting to have hangouts, maybe they're in high school, they're going out with friends, maybe they're driving, whatever that is. When your kids are getting ready to go, you probably do a scan of them head to toe and you're like, let's take a look at that. Maybe you shouldn't wear that shirt that you've been wearing for 4 days. Your shirt's inside out, right? Maybe you shouldn't wear socks with sandals, or that isn't appropriate, or whatever that is, right? We do a head to toe and we're just like, just helping you out here because I don't think that this might be exactly what you want to be putting out into the world. Maybe pajama pants isn't the way to go, or whatever it is. But what I am proposing that we also check equally, if not more, is probably the better way to look at it, is saying, instead of saying you are not leaving the house looking like that or dressed like that, I want you to think about saying and thinking you are not leaving the house thinking like that. So let's dive into this a little bit, because what if they're leaving to go play a sport or spend time with friends or even drive, right? I have a new driver in my house. Woo, babe. So yeah, she has had her license for all of 9 days now, and it is an experience. She's my oldest, so my first one to have a license. And I tell you, we went from 0 to 100 as far as knowing exactly where she is all the time because we took her there or picked her up from there, to, okay, so she's like, so and so needs a ride, and now I need to give this person a ride. Oh, I'm going to go here for dinner. Oh, I'm going to do this. And this newfound freedom, and she's very respectful and great with it, but it is a definite change of pace for parents, right? And so thinking about them when they're starting to drive too, if they're not already. But if they are leaving the house and they are not in the right headspace, maybe school didn't go right, maybe there's a friendship that's having an issue, maybe there's a problem out on the sports field, or maybe they're not looking forward to something, or whatever that is. It could be a plethora of things. We all know, we're parents, right? What goes on in their heads, it is a circus, and so many different things can happen. But the real but the real question is, what can happen if they're leaving the house and they are not in the right headspace, right? They're not thinking right, or in a good and positive place, right? They might not play well. Maybe they're going out for a baseball game, or they're going to play soccer, volleyball, whatever that is. They're not going to play well, which is just going to spiral, right? They might have some really bad sportsmanship, which could get them into trouble. It could get other people to have an opinion about them that they might not necessarily want. They could really start gossiping, right? Which isn't good for anybody, right? Gossiping. They could say things that they don't mean because they're just not thinking straight, or they're in a heated moment, right? They might do things that they wouldn't normally do out of frustration and just wanting to do something drastic to break what they have going on inside of them, right? I mean, when you are really frustrated or you're really upset, maybe going for a drive, helps you put the windows down and things. And as an adult, that might really be helpful. But to a kid, when they're getting it behind the driver's seat, they're going to be a distracted driver. They're not going to be able to think about, those things that are coming off to the side, or those cars that are around them as well, right? They need a lot more years of experience for that. And what about their reaction time isn't going to be as great if they're going out, maybe they're going on a bike ride, and because they're upset with something that's happening in the home or in their life, they're going on a bike ride. So many of us have seen, what is it? Now I'm blanking on the name, the Angels movie about Los Angeles, Nicolas Cage, for so long, right? I'm just saying, distracted driving, whether it's a bike or a Vespa, right? One of my kids has a Vespa. They love it. Or it's driving, whatever that is. when you're distracted because your head is not thinking clearly, then things can happen. And I've been dealing with this with some of my clients too, when it comes to sports or just leaving the house. And so what can we do about this? Well, like so many answers to so many things, the answer is to ask questions, right? So we want to ask, we want to wait, we want to listen, and we want to support and guide. Those are what we want to do. And there's no like cool acronym I can come up with that. And I have tried, my friends. I have tried. So AWLSG. I don't know what that spells, but that's what we need to do. We need to ask, wait, listen, support, and guide. And if you are part of the power struggle that's going on, you definitely don't want them leaving. You don't want them leaving on bad terms. And you need to drop the power struggle, right? Drop the rope and pull up a chair. It's a power struggle is like a tug of war going back and forth, and no one's going to win. Everyone's just going to be exhausted and tired out at the end, and there's going to be no winner. So just drop the rope and pull up a chair and ask and wait and listen and support and guide, right? That's what we need to do. And that waiting period can be excruciating. Silence is painful to listen to, even though it is nothing to listen to. So, but that's what you need to do. You just ask the question and be patient and wait. And I am saying that as a person with no patience. So I promise you, you can definitely, definitely do it. Right. But think about this. I had a band instructor who is a dear, dear, dear friend of mine, at Malberg, Michigan, if any of you know her in the Birmingham district, in Michigan. So anyway, I loved this woman, still do to this day. But anyway, she had a saying in the marching band of to be early is to be on time is to be late, and to be late is to be ... Usually it ended up with all of us kind of in unison said dead, or, something to that degree, something very, very dramatic, right? But I am here to tell you that aside, it is better to be late and in a good frame of mind than to be on time and have something happen that doesn't serve the best version of themselves, or hurts them or hurts somebody else, right? And so, what are some questions that you might be able to ask if they are leaving the house and you could tell they're a little down, or you just want a checkpoint before they leave, right? They're leaving the house, they're going to a game, they're going to a friend's house, they're doing this or what have you, and you need a little checkpoint. So the three basic word question, right? How are you? Now, hopefully you get a good answer out of that and there's a conversation that goes, but sometimes not. And you might need to dig a little deeper with how are you feeling, right? Are you excited about fill in the blank as to whatever they're about to go and do? And some families do really well at doing the high-low game. Have you ever played the high-low game? So that is, what are your highs for the day? What are your lows for the day? And let's, put it out all out on the table and let's talk about it. And then if the questions aren't working, and I'm not saying you ask all of these, you definitely do not ask all of these, right? This is not an interrogation. This is a conversation. And so tell me about your day. So what's going on? I want to know what's happening. How was school? How was this? Let me know. Or you say, tell me about what you're going to go do. That sounds pretty fun. Who are you going to see? Right. Are you going to be doing anything or changing locations, or, what are you guys doing? And then just remember to have this conversation with them, because the more that you are just asking questions right before they leave, the more of an interrogation it's going to feel like. So remember, we're building this foundation, and there is no building without communication and trust and understanding. So we have to have these very frequent conversations with them if they're going to be effective, when we need to have the conversation with them before they're leaving, right? Because if they're leaving out the door and they are not in the right headspace, so many different things can happen out on the ball field or with a friend, or making bad decisions when they're off on their own in town, or whatever it is. There's so many different possibilities. And this is a conversation that has to happen right before they leave, but it's less weird and less awkward if more of these kind of conversations are always happening. So, building this foundation that we're doing in order to have a greater experience and elevate our family experience during this childhood, parenthood, 6570. Remember, there's 6,570 days in your parenthood childhood dynamic, right? That's how many days are in 18 years. That's how many we have. It's our runway to adulthood. And we're the trainers on that runway in order to help them move forward. And so if they're going through something, then we need to know so we can train and support and guide them through that in order to get them to the other side before they leave home and go do whatever they're going to do. And if it's not in a good place, we need to be brave enough to just say it's not going to happen. Right. And not as a punishment. That's not what I'm saying. And although that could happen too, but I am just saying that if they're leaving and they're really not in a good space, then you know what? A play date or hanging out with friends might not be the best idea then, even if they're expecting them, even if there's going to be some, other consequences or what have you. Really just diving in and honing in on what they need right then is most important, right? Because we need to help them through whatever they're going through right then and make sure that they're in a positive space. So, check out what they're wearing, but really, really, really look at what they are thinking. Okay, you guys, that is what short episode today, but it was so important because I have had kids over at my house. I have had kids leaving my house. I have had clients that I'm helping with this too. And this is a really big sticking point lately is kids that are leaving the house in not a good headspace, in not a good thinking space. And I just remember so often hearing and when I was a kid in shows like, don't you think about leaving the house dressed like that? And my immediate thought was, don't think about leaving the house thinking like that. All right, you guys. So happy building, go have those conversations and build those foundations. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye, guys.